All right, Omari, let's play these comments here from Bill Parcells. Bill Parcells was doing his thing up in Saratoga before the Belmont Stakes. Friend of the show, Sal Licata, exclusively spoke with the two-time Super Bowl winning coach. And this was the part of the conversation where Sal asked Parcells directly about Aaron Glenn and the New York Jets.
Aaron Glenn, another one from your coaching tree. Do you think Aaron Glenn's set up to succeed with the Jets?
You know, I'm praying for him. He's one of my favorite players. I really have a high regard for him personally, so I'm hoping for his success, yes.
Do you think he's buying his own groceries? If they want him to cook the meal, Coach, I don't know if he's buying his own groceries.
Don't be using my quotes.
Well, you kind of have to have that to have success, right?
Well, if you know what you're doing, but if you don't know what you're doing, like if I go into a real grocery store, I don't know what I'm doing.
That was the only part of the whole conversation about Aaron Glenn. That was it. And I've heard so many different people that know Glenn, have some sort of relationship with him. Even if they don't want to say anything bad, they'll still like gas the guy up, say, oh, this guy's great. He's going to turn it around, even if they don't believe it. This is supposed to be like Aaron Glenn's mentor. And that was the best Bill Parcells could do to try and gas up, if you will, Aaron Glenn. That was like the worst endorsement I've ever heard. He's just like, I love him personally. I'm pulling for him. That's all we got from Parcells there. I'm sorry. That is not a good look for Aaron Glenn. I don't care what anyone tells me.
Listen, even the most optimistic Aaron Glenn supporters out there are probably like, man, doesn't he sound like a dad that knows that his son made a few questionable decisions, but he still loves his son, but he's like, I don't know what the heck he's doing. That is probably the worst endorsement for Aaron Glenn as a head coach that we've seen, Jake. And I know you and I, we've been trying to fish for anything for people to say something, at least teeter the line or negative about Aaron Glenn. And there's not too many people in the industry. Now, again, Bill Parcells is removed, but he's still a Hall of Fame head coach. And this is one of his mentees from his coaching tree. And that does not make me, that doesn't make me, feel safe at all. And we all have our feelings about Aaron Glenn right now, but that was a brutal listen. And I think he tried his best too. I think that was as nice as he could be regarding Aaron Glenn as a head coach.
I mean, he basically said, yeah, you could call all the shots if you know what you're doing, but if you don't know what you're doing, I mean, is that not insinuating that Aaron Glenn might not know what he's doing, that his mentor is acknowledging that, yeah, that first year was so bad? I mean, again, that's a tough look, I think, for all those saying. But Bill Parcells loves Glenn as a person. That doesn't mean that he thinks he's going to be a good NFL head coach.
Yeah, he loves him as a player. He loved what Aaron Glenn did for him as a player. He loves him as a person, like you said. And again, I'm sure that they have a really tight personal relationship. But in terms, if you're being objective as a coach, Bill Parcells knows coaching. I think we can all agree that. And what Aaron Glenn put out, the first 7 weeks, the last quarter of the season, Brady Cook is his quarterback. I think a lot of us can, kick that to the side. But the first 7 to 8 weeks, I would even give him maybe 9 weeks of the season. They were trying to win football games, and the Jets could not do that. They started off 0-7. He fired his entire staff, and, he's not in well-regarded company in terms of how he was as a head coach. It's him and Hugh Jackson and a couple of other guys that will never have a second opportunity to coach. So, again, it's not a great look for Aaron Glenn, but we know this, Jake. We know this. I'm sure that this is a shock because it is Bill Parcells. But again, if he's being honest, and Bill is a straight shooter, and I think that he's prided himself on being as honest as he can. His famous line is what? You are what your record say you are. And Aaron Glenn's record right now as a head coach is 3-14, and he started off 0-7. So if we're just looking at what they put on the film and what Aaron Glenn has done as a head coach, that's exactly the comments that you'd expect from the big tuna, right?
I'm praying for him. He's one of my favorite players. I have a high regard for him personally, so I'm hoping for his success. I mean, if you go and listen to the full interview, when the name Sean Payton comes up, that's when Parcells speaks glowingly about the type of coach he is, this and that, because the difference is Sean Payton actually coached under Bill Parcells, whereas Aaron Glenn just played for Parcells. There's a difference. So I never agreed with the thought process by Mike Tannenbaum and the 30-13 from the beginning, where Tannenbaum said to me on the radio, the first thing he did when he got the opportunity to consult for the Jets on the coach search was ask Bill Parcells. Parcells was like, I love Aaron Glenn. Well, as if that means that's the stamp of approval for Aaron Glenn to be a good head coach, because Parcells 30 years prior to that coached him with the Jets. Like, come on.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully, listen, if this thing goes the way a lot of people think it is going to go, hopefully we can do away with the 33rd team. No disrespect to Mike T, and I know that he's a guest and you guys have a relationship, but I think we're all tired of the 33rd team. Yeah, listen, Peyton Manning, spoke glowingly of Adam Gase. He did say that he did say that he needed to be an offensive coordinator before he became a head coach, and Christopher Johnson said, "Oh yeah, what do you know? I'm going to I think he's a genius." So again, we can have ring-in endorsements for people, but that just doesn't mean that they're good at their jobs. I'm sure that there's a lot of people that can speak highly for you as a person, but that doesn't mean that you can go be the CEO of $1 billion tech company, So it just doesn't always correlate.
Yeah, that was tough. I figured we heard so much about this great relationship that they have that Parcells would go out there and really back him publicly. And he's just like, I'm rooting for him. Not like, oh, he learned a lot in year one. It's going to be better in year two. Aaron's the type of guy that really does well when he's dealing with adversity. You got nothing other than I'm rooting for him. And then when Sal gave him the opportunity to talk about the famous quote about, if you shop for the groceries, you want to prepare the meal. Parcells basically like, yeah, if you know what you're doing,
Yeah.
which am I not supposed to look into that as well? Does Aaron Glenn know what he's doing? Like, what exactly is Bill Parcells saying there?
I know. Well, how about this? Let me frame this for you. Is Parcells really, is he still tapped in? Or is he just surface level?
If you believe what people have said, like Samini has called Parcells for stories during the season, he's still watching all the games.
Okay. All right.
But again, Bill Parcells is how old? Like, he's got to be in his mid 80s, right? Like,
has to be.
Bill Parcells is 84 years old.
Yeah. So again, that is not the ring endorsement that you want. And the way they made it seem, and I'm glad you said that you didn't even put it together. Aaron Glenn didn't even coach under Bill Parcells. So again,
right, he's not from the Parcells tree.
Yeah, he's not from the tree. He just played for him. So again, he probably doesn't even have that allegiance, and he probably doesn't know Aaron Glenn's style as a coach. So we weren't going to get a ringing endorsement on this, but I think that this is just more gasoline on the Glenn is over his head fire, and that fire is brewing, and it's huge, and that's why when you said week one being a must win, I was completely on board with you, because when you have sound bites like this, where you have the fan base and you have the record and just how he acted in the podium his first year, it's just a lot. It's a lot. It's going to be an uphill battle for him. And it's going to be uphill from, honestly, I think, training camp.
Usually you hear the endorsement, even if they don't believe it, they just say it, and he's like, I'm rooting for. I thought that was telling. I really did. I was not expecting, because we have heard so much about this great dynamic that Parcells and Glenn had, that Glenn still calls Parcells regularly for feedback and advice, and that's the best they got right there. So I don't know. Sorry writes in, does it get any better than Omari on Asman on a Wednesday? Let's go. They say it's the best time of the week. That's what I'm hearing. Sorry. So appreciate you watching the show. All right, Asmaniacs, listen up for a second. No matter what you're watching, whether it's New York sports or any game you didn't plan on caring about, there's no better way to stay locked in than with PrizePicks. It's daily fantasy made simple. You're just picking more or less on player projections. That's it. No complicated lineups, no nonsense. Just you versus the numbers. And here's why I love it. Even if it's a game you normally wouldn't care about, once you got a lineup going, you're locked in. Every play matters, every drive matters, every at-bat matters. I've been mixing sports too. Maybe a little football, throw in some baseball, maybe some basketball, and now you've got action across the board all night, and PrizePicks makes it even better with features like early cash outs if your picks are hitting, the ability to mix multiple sports in one lineup, and you can even see what other people are playing and tail their picks. So if you haven't tried it yet, what are you doing? Download the PrizePicks app right now. Use code HMA. That's HMA, and you'll get $50 in lineups after you play play your first $5 lineup. Again, it's HMA on PrizePicks. PrizePicks, where it always feels good to be right. But as we sit here right now, what are some of these storylines that have intrigued you throughout OTAs that you've been following?
Yeah, so I would say the most important one is going to be the development and the rapport between Geno Smith and the wide receivers, specifically AD Mitchell. I think AD Mitchell is going to he can be an X factor because his skill set is exactly what the wide receiver room is missing. That big prototypical X that can stretch the field and could be. And I'm not comparing him to this player, Jets fans, but I think that a similar play style, DK Metcalf. He only has to run a handful of routes. You want him to take the top of the defense, and Geno was able to find DK Metcalf at a high clip during their time in Seattle. So I've been looking at that. I've been listening to the development of the offensive line, our bookend tackles. Josh Myers spoke very highly of Armand Mimbo, said that he can be one of the greats. He said great, almost a handful of times. So those are the type of storylines that I've been following, and also some of the second year players, AZ Thomas and the second year with the Jets, Jarvis Brownlee, some of the defensive backs. That's what I've been listening as well to, and also the leadership from the Minka Fitzpatricks, the Demario Davis, and the David Onyemadas of the world. So that's what I've been paying attention to, and I think a lot of those players, they're going to have a huge factor on if the Jets can turn this thing around or not. But I think the most important thing is Geno Smith and AD Mitchell, because if you can unlock that, that could be a whole different dynamic that the Jets haven't had in quite some time. I'm thinking maybe Robbie Anderson, to where the Jets have just had a legit deep threat to where, maybe once or twice a game, they're going to pop one. So that's what I've been paying attention to.
You buying the AD Mitchell hype? You think he could have a bigger role than many felt?
I'm a little bit lower on AD Mitchell than a lot of people because I just think the hands. It's always with AD Mitchell, it's bringing the catches in. He can do everything properly. He's exactly what you want your X to look like. He's damn near 6'3", over 200 pounds. He can jump. He runs the 4.3. Now we just got to bring it in. So I'm not as high on AD Mitchell as some fans, but I do think that he's going to be able to unlock something to this Jets offense and take some of the pressure. We've talked about this all offseason. A lot of this is just about taking the pressure and the attention off of Garrett Wilson, and him being able to stretch the field will do that.
I think you're spot on in that regard. Hey, shout out to PBM. Got not one but two super chats. He's talking Nick, says hopefully the refs don't F us again. F dirty Wemby. PBM then writes, and let's go Knicks. Send ET home with an L. Wemby is the next Joel Embiid. PBM, I love your passion, man, but Wemby is way better than Embiid, because Wemby actually plays and is already in the finals. Embiid has never even made a conference finals, but I like it. Let's go Knicks. Hit it, Mike Brown.
Turn the fucking Jets on. Turn the fucking Jets on.
Mike is the first to enter our raffle today. Did we lose Omari Brown? Right now, Omari Brown looked more like Omari Black. Dun-dun-dun. Black hole. He was in there. We'll get Omari back with us shortly. Again, Mike's the first to enter today. We got a Knicks limited edition laminated playoff ticket from the finals and a playoff rally towel for all the Knicks fans. If you don't want that, if you just want to enter the raffle, we're going to raffle away a Jets jersey, player of your choosing, on these shows today. You can pick a Jet legend or you can pick a current player on the team. Let's bring Omari back with us. We got the internet rolling, Omari. We're good?
Yeah, I just glitched out. But yeah, listen, Wemby is nothing like Joel Embiid, because you know what? It's a funny stat. Pacome Dadier has more Eastern Conference Finals points than Joel Embiid.
That is a great stat.
Wemby is nothing like Wemby is nothing like Joel Embiid.
I love it. You're not wrong there. All right. Some controversy on the show this week when Tanky V came on the show Monday and he debuted another magical list of takes that certainly split many in the fan base. What are your thoughts on the Frankie V list of the three players he thinks are going to be better than most of us think, and then the three players that he thinks are going to be worse than we think? You know Frankie V well, so get inside the mind of Tanky V. Your thoughts on this?
Listen, inside the mind of Frankie is It's treacherous territories. No, listen. No, shout out to Frank, man. I want to start with the worst than most people think because I'm not as down and low on Mason Taylor as most fans are. Now, again, people say that he was drafted very high. Yes, he was a second round tight end. He was a top 50 pick, but I look at him as being more of a tight end too. So I'm viewing him, my comp for Mason Taylor, and this might not excite a lot of people, but he is a solid veteran, is Cole Kmet. So you look at their first year, Cole Kmet with Mitch Trubisky. It wasn't anything crazy to write home about. He had less than 300 yards, and that was, I think, Mitch Trubisky and Justin Fields are probably going to be similar in terms of efficiency and how they were able to get the ball and disperse it around. So I look at Mason Taylor. I think in a second year, Mason Taylor had 44 catches on 65 targets for just under 400 yards. So I'm looking at Mason Taylor to take a step with a better QB. In terms of T'Vondre Sweat, that's the biggest one for me. I just think T'Vondre Sweat is going to be, I think he's going to be a monster because when you think about it, he was ranked ninth out of 132 D tackles and then fourth out of 134, respectively, in 2024 and 2025. And that's for the run game. So I'm not expecting much from T'Vondre Sweat in terms of pass rush. That's why we have Javon Briggs. But I think T'Vondre Sweat is going to be an absolute anchor in the middle of this defense. You look at his PFF grades too. He was ranked over, I think it was 85, his PFF grade overall. So I think T'Vondre Sweat is going to be an absolute stalwart in the middle. So I'm actually high on T'Vondre Sweat, and I think that was arguably it might be one of Muji's best trades that don't have to do with bringing back a draft pick because those the Sauce and Quentin trades were tremendous. But in terms of just value, getting rid of Jermaine Johnson and getting a younger, if in terms of just run defense, maybe a better player, I thought that it was a home run. So I didn't agree with him on that one. And then what was the third one? So it was
The
Mason
third
Taylor,
one
T'Vondre.
was Minka. I just wanted to showcase this
Yeah.
photo of
Oh.
Big 99 on the screen because T'Vondre Sweat is a gigantic human being.
He's a house. He's a house. He's filling up a doorway. And I think 99 looks good on him too, right? Just
It
a
does fit
huge,
for
massive-
the
yeah.
big, fat guy in the middle number.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the first guy that you want to get off the bus. So, and then Minka, I wanted to talk about Minka a little bit. So, a lot of people were down on Minka, and rightfully so. Before 2 years in Pittsburgh, before going back to Miami, he wasn't good. His grades were low, and he was in the middle of the pack in terms of his ranking on safety. So I do understand that. The switch was Minka played damn near 800 snaps at free safety in 2024, and in 2025. He didn't pass 220 snaps at free safety. So Minka's been playing a lot of big nickel, and I think he had over 300 snaps in the slot. And I think that hopefully that's what Aaron Glenn continues to use him as, to take away some of that intermediate crossing routes and play him in the box in the slot. So I think that Minka playing closer to the line as he gets older, as he gets longer in the tooth in his career is going to help him. So hopefully they're going with Malachi Moore a little bit to play play that safety three, or maybe put him in some free safety situations. So I think Minka's actually going to be better if they utilize him properly. Now,
You want to hear the craziest take, Omari?
What's
Frankie said Malachi Moore will be better than Minka this year. And I'm like, you're nuts.
Yeah, I disagree with that. But I do like Malachi Moore, though. I like him a lot, but I don't think he's going to be better than Minka Fitzpatrick.
No, here's the thing.
Yeah.
If Frankie's right with his list, that's a bad look for Darren Muji, who I think has done a good job. Like, if you're wrong on Taylor, Sweat, and Minka, those are three notable moves they've made. Taylor, second-round pick. Sweat, you traded Jermaine Johnson for. Minka, you made a big investment in to sign him for basically a contract that's guaranteed 2 years. Like, if you're wrong on all three of those guys, they're not good. That's a problem when we have, I don't want to say all of us, but a lot of us have anointed or have spoken glowingly about Muji. We believe in him, all that. That's a bad look if those three guys don't work out.
Jake, that's a terrible look. That's a terrible look. That's what, 40% of the moves that he made this offseason. And then that's a premium pick. So now we're starting to question it. If he misses on those picks, now we're starting to question, is this really the guy to find the QB? So I don't even want to go to that scenario. But the list that he said that he's higher on, I'm with you, Jamie and Sherwood. And I think you and I have talked about this too. I think the Jets are going to have to try to salvage Sherwood because you can't move that contract. He's making $15 million a year, and the tape was bad last year. And Jamie will tell you that as well too. But I think the entire defense is going to benefit from Demario Davis, but I think no singular player is going to benefit more from Demario Davis than Jamie and Sherwood. One, he does not have to be the green dot. He doesn't have to call the defense. He doesn't have to get people into their right positions, and that's going to allow him to play faster, Jake. Because when you don't have to think, that's a click that you can play faster. So instead of him, I think Sherwood does struggle with diagnosing plays, specifically on misdirection, running plays and play action. So I think that I think we're going to see the best version of Sherwood, and that's going to be the version that we saw with CJ Mosley. So I do agree with him there. One guy that I'm not high on at all, and we could talk about this, is Braylon Allen. I mean, Braylon Allen, he looks exactly what you want all of your football players to look like. I don't think anybody looks better in a shirt and shorts than Braylon Allen.
Dude, he's Mr. June. He's Mr. July and August every year because they're not fully hitting at that time. He's a physical specimen, and he's always great in training camp every year.
Hey, here's the deal. Just got no chance unless you click on that like button. And you got to make sure you subscribe to the Jake Asman Show. You don't, you can get the f*** out. Now let's go, Asmaniacs. We're built for this shit.